Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the whole life insurance application process. Ever wonder what they really look at when you apply? Well, let's find out. When you apply for life insurance, it can feel like you're signing up for this intense medical investigation, right? And that can be pretty intimidating. But here's the thing. Once you understand their playbook, you're the one in the driver's seat. It's really about turning that anxiety into action. So let's kick things off with the one word that really runs the whole show. Okay, so it all kicks off with this process called underwriting. Now, I know it sounds super technical, but it's basically the fundamental way insurers figure out who they're covering. So what is underwriting? Well, think of it like an insurer's version of a background check, but, for your health. They're basically trying to predict the future, and your past health is their best roadmap. They're just doing their homework to figure out the level of risk, and that in turn is what sets the price you're going to pay. All right, so how do they actually do this investigation? You might be picturing some kind of secret agent stuff, but it's not nearly as mysterious as it sounds. In fact, most insurance companies follow a surprisingly standard 3-step playbook. Okay, so this is pretty much their standard operating procedure. First, it starts with your story. That's the questionnaire. Then they fact-check it with your doctor's official records. And finally, they cross-reference all of that against these huge industry databases, just to make sure all the pieces of the puzzle fit together. See, each step is just another layer of verification. Let's talk about one of those third-party services. The big one is called the MIB, or the Medical Information Bureau. The easiest way to think about it, it's like the credit bureau for the insurance world. Now, it doesn't have your entire medical history in there. Nope. It just has these coded summaries from any past applications you've made. It's really just a simple way for insurers to spot if someone's telling one company one thing and another company something else. And hey, just like a credit report, you have every right to see what's in yours and fix any mistakes. After hearing about all this checking and verifying, you might think they're just looking for reasons to say no. But actually, it's kind of the opposite. The industry has created a whole range of different options. Think of it like a toolkit. There's a specific tool designed for almost every single situation. And this chart, this lays out the entire landscape perfectly. So on one end of the spectrum, you've got fully underwritten policies. These are the most intense. They require a full medical exam, but the payoff? If you're healthy, you get the absolute lowest rates. Then you jump to the complete opposite end, guaranteed issue. No questions asked, you're in. But, and it's a big but, the premiums are way higher and there's usually a 2-year waiting period before the full benefit kicks in for natural death. And everything else you see here, it just falls somewhere in between, offering this trade-off between convenience, how much you pay, and how much coverage you get. Okay, so now you know the different ways you can get coverage. Let's switch gears and talk about the things that can slow you down, the potential roadblocks. Underwriters, they have this sort of mental checklist of red flags that make them hit the pause button and dig a little deeper. Right, so looking at this list, these aren't necessarily automatic no's, not at all. Here's how an underwriter thinks. A health condition that's being managed with a clear treatment plan, that's a known quantity. They can work with that. But an unmanaged one, that's just a big question mark. And insurers, well, they really don't like question marks. So, just being able to show that you're on top of your health, that you're managing it, that can make all the difference in the world. All right, so we've looked at the process, we've looked at the potential pitfalls. So how do you play this game to your advantage? Let's put together your action plan for a smoother, faster approval. Every single one of these steps gives you more control over the process. I mean, timing is huge, just huge. Applying when your blood pressure is under control versus when it's not can totally change your rates. And number 4, using an independent broker, that's like having an insider on your team. Seriously, they work with dozens of companies, so they know from experience which ones are, say, a little more lenient for someone with diabetes versus someone who's a scuba diver. Look, at the end of the day, this whole system is built on data. They have the tools, they're going to verify everything. So being honest isn't just, a moral choice here. It's a strategic one. It's what lets you find the right insurer who's going to cover you for who you actually are right now. So what does this all mean? The next time you think about life insurance, don't see it as some scary test you have to pass. Think of it more like a puzzle. A puzzle you now have the cheat codes to solve. You're not just an applicant anymore. You're an informed buyer, and you're ready to find the exact right coverage for you and your future.